welcome to my channel. If you are already a subscriber, welcome back. If you happen to be new here and catching me for the first time, please, if you enjoy what you see, hit that subscribe button and click the little bell icon so that you can get notified whenever I post a video or in the near future when I am live. So for those of you that do not know me, my name is Amanda Register. And about 3 years ago, I was over 700 pounds. I have been morbidly obese my entire life. The weight that I am now is smaller than when I was in elementary school. So I am using this platform to tell my story and to also address some issues with obesity that some people don't address, or people that do address them, they don't have the point of view of someone that's been there, and I have been there, so I feel like my opinion is valid on those topics. Today I am going to talk about some of my backstory, as well as incorporate it with one of the biggest questions that I have been asked or have been DM'd, or people often hear them say, which is, how did you let yourself get to that point? How do you let yourself get to be 700 pounds? How do you let yourself get to be 500 pounds? Like, how does that happen? So, first of all, it can happen. And, you know, if you're someone that is overweight, like if you're 300 pounds, 350, 400 pounds, you're surprisingly not far from being 600 pounds. And I'll explain what happened with my story and everything in this video. So for me, I was always overweight. And when I say always, I mean pretty much always. Like, I was born average weight. My kindergarten school year, I was considered obese. I gained like a whole bunch of weight when I was around like 5 and 6. And I'll post a picture right here. This is me in kindergarten. And even before then, I was overweight. Like, this is me at like 3 years old. So I was very overweight even from an early childhood. And so, yes, genetics did play some role in my obesity. And before you like give me the side eye because I said genetics, let me explain, because I'm not blaming getting to 700 pounds just on genetics. But when I was that age, when I was like age 3, age 5, age 6, and like even this picture here is me. I was about 9 years old in this picture, 9 or 10, I think, in that photograph. So at that time period, I was eating the same foods that my brother was eating, and we were playing outside and doing kid activities, and I was steady gaining, and he remained like a stick. He was super, super skinny. So genetics did play some role in it. And I think that some people do have, are predispositioned to be overweight, or have what they call like a fat gene. I don't know if there's a real fat gene or not, but I do think that there are some genetics that go into play when it comes to how easily you gain weight, or what kind of foods you're sensitive to, and that sort of thing. However, I do think that there comes a point when you have to take control of your life and know that there are certain things that, you have to be more cautious of. I mean, there are different aspects of genetics. There are some family histories where alcoholism runs in the family, but that doesn't mean that every person in that family is going to be an alcoholic. So you have to take control, and then you have to say, okay, there are weight issues in my family, so that means that I need to take extra precautions, and I need to do my part to make sure that I don't let it get out of control. For me, I got to 700 pounds because I let it get out of control, and I let it control my life. And that is the issue that a lot of people have that are larger. And when I say larger, I mean like above 450. I think there's something about once you get to like 450 and 500, it's so easy to get up to that 600 mark and that 700 mark. For me, I was, like I said, always overweight. This was me probably around like 25 years old. So even at 25, I was morbidly obese, and I always carried majority of my weight around my stomach. And that made it hard for me to walk and hard for me to move. A lot of it became from bad habits as well. So I did tell my story on the show that I was on, or told parts of my story. So a lot of people know about my history with binge eating, and kind of closet eating is what I would call it. And I did have a bad history in my childhood with my father. And I've talked about that before, where he wouldn't let me eat at the table because I was told that the sounds that I made or seeing me eat was physically disgusting to him. So as a child, that made me feel very self-conscious about eating. So I got to a point where I would not eat in front of anyone. And then I would not eat all day at school because I didn't want to eat in front of people. And then I would go home at night and I would binge eat. And for me, the binge eating, again, is different for everyone, but I think that when you have that poor relationship with food, and that it doesn't matter what the food is, you're just trying to fill that void and that emptiness that's inside of you. And that's what I was doing. It didn't matter what I was eating. I could eat just a loaf of plain bread. It wasn't about the taste. It wasn't that I loved food. It was just getting that full feeling. I got to a point, I guess when I was around 12 or 13, because I was around 6th grade, I could not go to sleep unless I had the feeling of being so full that I felt physically sick. So for me, I could not go to sleep until I felt like I had eaten like 2 servings of a Thanksgiving meal. So at that point, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't about the food. It wasn't about how much, let me get a gallon of ice cream because I want some Rocky Road ice cream. It wasn't about what it was. It could have been anything. There was a point in my life where, my father locked the cabinets. He put locks on the cabinet and chains on the refrigerator so that I couldn't get food. At that point, I still had to have that full feeling because my anxiety would get bad and I would get nervous and I couldn't sleep and I would panic if I did not have that full feeling. I got to the point where I would physically eat the stuffing out of a pillow to get that full feeling. And that is addiction. That is not just someone that is fat and likes to eat. So there is a difference in being overweight because you like to eat and being overweight because you have a food addiction. And there are several people on YouTube alone that I see that they remind me of myself because their problem is a food addiction. It's not just I like to eat. And until they get ready to acknowledge that and be honest with themselves and accept help, it's going to continue in the same cycle that I was in for my whole 38 years of I'll, binge eat, feel terrible, and then I'll have this newfound energy to I'm going to change my life and I'm going to go out and buy all low carb, or I'm going to go out and buy all do a fast or a fruit diet or a smoothie diet, or join this company or join Weight Watchers, join Jenny Craig, join all of these things, and then I'm good for a week, and then I'm at the peak and I'm doing great, and then bam, it hits again. So it's just this constant cycle, and it's because we don't have this fixed. And unless you have your mind fixed, nothing else is going to matter. And that's what I try to explain to my clients, because for those of you that don't know, after I did lose 500 pounds, 497 pounds, I'm 218, so I'm 3 pounds away from being 500 pounds lost. I decided to become a licensed nutrition, wellness, and life coach. And I do have a few one-on-one clients that I have, and that's what I try and express to them, is that you have to get this part fixed. Once you get the mental part fixed, the rest, the food, all of that will fall into place, because you have to love yourself enough to want to change. I use the example all the time of a sofa. If you have this leather sofa and you bought the sofa, you love it, you care about the sofa, you're going to do the weekly treatments that you need to do to condition the leather. You're going to take care of it. If something spills, you're going to get up and get it off that sofa right away because you love that sofa, right? You want it to last. It's the same way with our bodies. If you love who you are, and I'm not talking about your physical self, if you love who you are inside, then you're going to want to do better. If you take pride in yourself and you love yourself, you're going to want to eat the right food. You're going to want to feed your body the nourishment that it needs. You're going to want to make healthy choices. But just like that sofa, if it was just a regular couch and that you didn't like, you didn't really care about it, but it was just there, like it just existed, you're not going to do treatments on it. Eventually you're going to stop. And if something spills, you're like, whatever, I'll just get it later, because you don't care about it. So it's not important. So you may maintain it for a few weeks, but eventually you're going to just, stop messing with it. And it's the same way with our bodies. So mental health is so important when it comes to fighting obesity. You have to be ready up here. You can go to the grocery store and spend thousands of dollars on programs and prepackaged foods and exercise and personal trainers. You can do all that. But if you're not ready here, you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time. And what's sad is, for majority of the people that I'm trying to reach out to, that I try and get a hold of, the one thing that we don't have is time. Like, we don't have time. Because when you're at the point that I was at, like I was physically almost dead, the reason that I decided to change my life is because the week before I decided to do that, I was in the hospital, basically in a coma, being told, or I couldn't physically say anything or move, but I could hear everything that was going on in my room, and I could hear the doctor tell my mother that I was not going to make it. So that moment, I was like, I've got to change my life. And I'll get more into what happened then in another video. But unfortunately, when you are 400, 500, 600, 700 pounds, the one luxury that you do not have is time to decide what you want to do. You don't have time to do all of these fad diets. Your health is not a fad. Your life is not a fad. And your diet should not be either. And that's what I try and stress to people. And then I'm starting to ramble because that's what I do. It's just, this is something that I'm super, super passionate about. And I want to try and tell my story. And yes, there's humiliating parts. Like I just told you that I eat stuffing out of my pillow because I wanted that full feeling, because I was a food addict. I still am a food addict. I just have ways of dealing with it now. I will always be a food addict. I know that there are certain situations that I cannot put myself into because I know that that would be a dangerous territory for me. So the difference between me now and me then is, now I realize it and I control it instead of letting it control me. So that's the difference between then and now. So getting back to the story, I was always overweight. So not only was I obese my entire life, but we also moved a lot. So I was always not only the fat girl, but I was always the new fat girl, which is even worse. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up just because, and that was a choice of mine, really, because I was so self-conscious and I was so ashamed of who I was as a person. I didn't want to have other people around me because I was just embarrassed of who I was. And I didn't know who I was. I was always the fat girl, the new girl. I was always the one that was the disappointment. And, I used my weight as an excuse. My weight was my crutch my entire life. And that's one of the reasons why it was so hard for me to lose weight, because in the back of my mind, like, of course you want to lose weight and you want to get healthy. But when you have the mindset of someone that is morbidly obese, you also have that fear of what happens when I don't have my obesity as an excuse. I hope I'm making sense. So it's more like this. Like, when you are overweight, and someone asks, can you go walking with me? Or can you do this? Or can you do that? Or I need you to do this. No, I can't. I'm just not feeling well. Or I can't walk that far right now. I'm too big and I can't. And my knees and I can't. So that was my excuse for everything. So when you lose the weight and you don't have that excuse, the fear comes in because you're scared. What if I fail after I've lost the weight? That means that my entire life, my failures have not been because of my weight. My failures have been because of me. So that fear also comes into play. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this is because I want people to understand that people that are morbidly obese, they're more than just the fat person that you're watching on the screen. They're more than just the fat person that you see in the grocery store or sitting in the restaurant. It's deeper than that. And we tend to treat people that are overweight as, well, they get whatever they deserve because they put themselves there. Okay, I'll give you this. Yes, there are actions that we took that got us to the point that we are at or were at. And you'll see that I often refer to myself as where I am at, because I still see myself as, well, I don't see myself as morbidly obese, but I still identify with that group of people because that's all I've known my entire life. And I'm so passionate about helping these people. But I also realized in me reaching out that I can't save people. People have to save themselves, and they have to be ready. And the thing is that there's so many people out there that just, they say they want it, but you don't want it. Because if you wanted it, you would go get it. And that's the difference with people that just keep in these cycles. And I know that I keep saying cycles, but that's what it is. It's a cycle. And until you're ready to break it, my heart absolutely breaks for the people that I see, some on this platform, that's just constantly going through the same cycles that I've been through. And I just want to shake them and be like, stop, like, look yourself in the mirror and have a conversation with yourself and be honest with yourself. But you can't save people. You can't help people that don't want to help themselves. And that is the biggest thing with this obesity epidemic. It's so much bad information out there, and there's so many people that are pushing healthy at any size. I will tell you right now that there is no healthy at any size, and I'm sure that I will lose people on my social media platforms, and I will get some kickback from saying that. But I'm not sorry for saying it. You cannot tell me that I was healthy at 700 pounds. You cannot tell me that a person is healthy at 700 pounds. That is not true. Now, should you love yourself at 700 pounds? Absolutely, you have to. You have to get to the point to where you love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, you're not going to care about yourself enough to change. So, do you need to love yourself? Absolutely. But spreading lies that you can be healthy at whatever size you want to be at, that is something that is so toxic and so dangerous for so many people, especially for our younger people that are in their early teens, that are just starting their life. And most of, majority of kids nowadays are overweight, between not having physical activity and, eating more and more and more of the junk food. Like, there are a lot of overweight teenagers out there, and then you're telling them it doesn't matter what size you are, you can be healthy, and that is so dangerous. So I have been asked before on social media what I thought about the healthy at any size, and I have been asked to be part of their campaign, and I've refused. I will not be a part of that because it is not true. You can't be healthy and be morbidly obese. The two do not coincide. And I'm not saying that you have all these ailments. I was 700 pounds. I was over 500 pounds for probably 80% of my lifetime. And I never had diabetes. I never had any like major issues, like diabetes. My blood pressure was a little high, but it wasn't crazy high. Now towards the end, I did have issues with, I had to wear oxygen. I ended up developing endometrial cancer, which I'll talk more about in another video. So there were repercussions, but when I was growing up and when I was a child, into the teenage, into early 20s, like I didn't have high blood pressure, I didn't have diabetes. So on paper, I looked healthy. But mentally, I was not healthy at all. And that was a large part due to my weight. And physically, I wasn't healthy because I was doing so much damage to my body. Even though it wasn't showing up on paper yet, there was damage being done. At 12 years old, you shouldn't be winded and have your knees hurt because you ran playing softball. Like, that's not healthy. And for people and organizations to tell you that it is, that needs to be stopped. But I'll go more into that in another video. I'm trying not to make these too long, but I do tend to like get on the subject and just run with it because, again, I am just so passionate about what I'm talking about when it comes to obesity. And I feel like I have lived it. I've lived it and I beat it. So I have every right to talk about it in any capacity that I want to. I can talk about it from the point of view of someone that has lost the weight, and I can talk about it from the point of view that someone that was 700 pounds. So now that I've went on my little rant, I was talking today about the question of how do you let yourself get that way? Like, how do you let yourself get to 700 pounds? But the truth is, like, we're all closer than we thought we would be to being 700 pounds, to being 600 pounds, to being 500 pounds. Like, I was a fully, what I consider functional fat, I guess. I was about 550 pounds. I was up to 650. I'd lost about 100 pounds. So I was at 550. I lived in an upstairs apartment by myself. So I went up and down the stairs all the time. I had a full-time job at a hospital, which required me to walk around the hospital all day long. I did my own grocery shopping, own cooking, on everything. I was independent. And that was at 550 pounds. So I was what I considered to be functioning fat. Okay, so this is what I mean by you're only one circumstance away from being bedbound once you're over a certain amount of weight. I was then in a car accident, and it was a bad car accident. I had a Tahoe at the time, and the Tahoe was totaled. So for it to total a Tahoe, it was a really bad accident. And I ended up to where I was not able to be as mobile for a while. I lost everything. Like, I lost my apartment because I lost my job. I had to move back home. So depression came into play as well. And then I wasn't able to get around because from the impact of the accident, I actually had 2 pulmonary embolisms, or emboli, however you say that, from the impact. So I wasn't able to move. They wanted me to stay still because at that size that I was, if one of those blood clots were to, to shoot out, it would have killed me. So I was on blood thinners. I was kept in the hospital for a while. And when you are that large, 550, and then you combine eating more because of depression, and I was a food addict, so that was my coping mechanism, was food. And then you combine that with not moving. When your body is that large and then you become sedentary and you don't move for a long time, it is harder for you to rebound. And I didn't rebound. I didn't. I went from 550 to probably 2 years later, I was over 700 pounds. I gained probably 100 pounds that first year. And then I just progressively just kept getting larger and larger and larger. To the point to where I was on oxygen 24 hours a day. I was having a hard time breathing. I literally, my exercise consisted of walking from the bedroom to the bathroom to the kitchen to the living room. That was it. And I really didn't even walk in the kitchen that much because I was just ordering food so that I could just get it from the front door, or have someone bring it to me. So there was a lot of depression during that time, and that's when I got that big. But I know people say, I would never let myself get that large. Like, you watch shows like 600-Pound Life, or like the show I was on, Family by the Ton, or some of these other shows, and you're like, I would never let myself get that way. You don't know. Because if you're allowing yourself to be 300 pounds right now, you would let yourself get to be 700 pounds. Because you don't know what could happen. You have to keep your body healthy now. Because if you were to get in an accident, or something was to happen to where you were physically not able to maintain the movement that you're doing now, and you're already overweight, that weight will pile on like really quickly. I know several people that I talk to and deal with that have lost weight, that some haven't lost weight, but majority of them that got to that 600-pound plus mark, they weren't 600 pounds. They were 400, they were 500, and then something happened to where it put them down for a while, and that's when the weight piled on. So you have to remember, like, it's not like, how did you let yourself get that way? It will happen before you know it. You will suddenly wake up one day and be like, I feel really bad, and go away, and you're 20 pounds up for the month. Or it's been 6 months, you know, you got through the holiday, or let's just say 3 months, you got through the holidays. You got from Halloween through Valentine's Day, and you step on the scale, and all of a sudden you're 25 pounds up. Okay, well, if you continue to do that every few months, you're going to be, you know, extremely overweight and eventually morbidly overweight. So it's not that people can't, you know, say, well, I can't, I'll never let myself get it. Don't never say never, because I said that too. I said that when I was 400 pounds watching 600-Pound Life, saying, well, at least I'm not that big. You know, I've done that too, but you can be that big. So it's so important to take care of yourself and to take care of your health. In whatever size you are now, you have to know that you're worth it, and you have to know that it's possible. Like, if you told me that I would lose nearly 500 pounds in 3 years, I would say that you were absolutely crazy. But it's possible, but you have to want it, and you have to be honest with yourself and real with yourself. That is the biggest thing, is just being honest. Like, when you sneak food, when you call and order a little extra stuff on the side, and your spouse or your loved one or whoever you're with, they don't know it, that you're acting like you're hiding it from them. But it doesn't matter what they think or what they see. When you do that, you're hurting yourself. You're not hurting them. You're hurting you. And so, to wrap this up, because it's going longer than I thought it would go, but to wrap it up, when people say, you know, how did you let yourself get to 700 pounds? The answer is this. First of all, genetics did play some part of it. But I allowed myself to get to 700 pounds because I stopped caring about myself. I didn't love myself, and I didn't value my life. And that's how I ended up at 715 pounds. Because had I valued my life, had I loved myself, I would have wanted to take care of myself. I would have wanted to do the things that I needed to do to better my life and to take care of myself so that I can take care of other people. You know, my mother is not young. Like, eventually she's going to need someone to take care of her. And now I'm able to do that. But before, there would have been no way that I would have been able to take care of, like, my mother when she needs me to take care of her, or take care of, you know, a family member or a loved one, or, you know, someone that needs to depend on you, and you can't take care of them because you can't take care of yourself. So you have to remember that it's not selfish. Like, self-care is not selfish. It's actually selfish if you don't take care of yourself. And so please just don't judge people for their size. They need help. Like, don't talk poorly about them because of their weight or because of their size. But don't pity them either, because that's one thing that we don't need is pity. What we need is help, and we need encouragement, and we also need to be called out at times. Okay, so back to my story, because I keep going off on these little tangents, so I'm sorry about that. But so for me, you know, like I said, I was overweight my entire life. I'm 40 years old now, and I just started to live in my life. And I'm going to be talking more about my story on other videos and just let you know, inside my background. And hopefully it can help someone. And you never know who is listening to your story and who needs to hear it. So I always encourage people to tell their story, and just continue to tell your truth. And through your trials and triumphs, someone else can find encouragement or inspiration. And that's what I'm trying to do. So if you like what you saw, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you'll get notifications whenever I post another video. And you can find me on my Instagram here at the Amanda Register. So go follow me there for updates and some posts and things like that. If you're interested, I do have a Facebook group that I do cooking lives in and motivational talking and all that kind of stuff. It is a paid group, and you can find me. You would go to ignitedinspiration.com to sign up, and then once you sign up, just message me and I will add you to the group on Facebook. And you can message me on my Instagram, or you can find me on Facebook under Amanda Register. The group's name is Ignited Inspiration, as well as my Facebook page. I'll put all that over here somewhere. So if it's something you're interested in, just message me on my Instagram or my Facebook and let me know, and I'll give you more information. I do have a few more spots open for one-on-one clients. Again, you can message me on those social media sites. Other than that, I will see you guys on the next video, and thank you so much for joining me. Love you, and take care of yourself. Bye.